DNA has actually been shown to directly communicate with and even organize the quantum field in some fascinating ways. The first of these has been coined as the DNA phantom effect. In 1985, Russian scientist Dr. Peter Garyev discovered a shocking phenomenon. By placing a sample of DNA into a sealed vacuum chamber, he then exposed it to low-power laser light and analyzed how the photons scattered through the chamber. Now, prior to placing the DNA in the chamber, the photons scattered in a random way, indicating no structure. But when the DNA was placed inside the vacuum chamber, the photons arranged themselves around the DNA structure. They were organized by it. After removing the DNA, they then found a most unexpected phenomenon. The photons were still being ordered in the vacuum by some new field structure or memory that they later called the phantom DNA. They tested other substances and did not find this effect for anything but DNA. Plus, the effect lasted for long periods, upwards of a month, as long as the space inside the vacuum chamber remained undisturbed. What does this tell us? Well, it means that through the DNA, we can influence the quantum vacuum and the information it contains. Plus, as we'll see later, we can also influence our DNA through our thoughts, words, and actions, which then adjust what possibilities are available to us from the quantum domain. The researchers were able to reproduce this DNA phantom effect so long as two conditions were met. The first was the presence of the DNA molecule must be introduced into the vacuum. And the second was that the DNA must then be exposed to weak, coherent laser radiation. And what do laser light and DNA have to do with each other? Well, this brings us to the second fascinating thing about DNA and quantum fields. Living DNA is a receiver and transmitter of coherent light. Let's repeat that. Living DNA is both a receiver and transmitter of coherent light. This was first documented by an international group of scientists led by German biophysicist Dr. Fritz Popp. They discovered that the DNA actually emits and receives low-intensity, coherent light called biophotons. Scientists think that what are called the non-coding parts of the DNA are what govern the transmission and reception of this light, and that biophotons are used as a light-speed communication mechanism for the web of DNA. They propose it's like a biological internet. What does this mean for us? Well, it means that we can also use coherent light to communicate with our DNA. If we can give the right information to a certain set of DNA in our body, that message will then be transmitted to the rest of our DNA at light speed. Now, this word coherent comes up again and again when we talk about the quantum field. What does it mean? Well, coherent means all of the same frequency or vibratory rate, all in phase or synchronized, all moving together in the same focused direction. This piece is really key when it comes to awakening DNA, because we have to achieve a coherent state to do so. I'm Dr. Teresa Bullard, and this is Mystery Teachings.